But this whole idea of if you really are going to use an LLC, for instance, to do some of this impact investing, what are some of the things you have to be careful about when you're bringing some of your foundation work into the mix as well? And can you just touch on that?
Right. Yeah, there is this, people sometimes talk about us as this hybrid model, and it means, and we do have this great flexible tools, suite of tools. That does not mean that we can just simply mix and match them. I mean, I think that the big piece of what I think about and what my legal group thinks about are the private benefit, self-dealing rules, really private benefit, private inurement rules, which is to say that, the simple way I think about it, the jaundiced IRS version, which is you used your halo dollars from your private foundation to buy your seat at a table so that Pierre, owning the LLC, could make a for-profit investment and make a bunch of money. That's the simple version of that. So we more and more are beginning to think about funding things like incubators and accelerators and competitions, and they often very much start out in a not-for-profit context with the idea that they may well spin out for-profit businesses, which could be incredibly socially impactful, that we'd like to invest in. And so one of our big things is to stop and think early on, do we think that the kinds of for-profit businesses that are going to come out of those accelerators or those competitions could possibly be qualified to be invested in as a PRI? And even if they could, how complicated would it be? And even to that extent, will there be other commercial investors interested, or will there be more foundation investors? And so we really have to take a bit of a gamble, a judgment call early on to say, if we think that largely the things that are coming out of it will be things that can be invested in as a PRI, then great, we can go ahead and make a grant from our private foundation. Because once we've made that grant from the private foundation, we're going to be working within the foundation world, whether it's a PRI or an MRI, and we can talk more about that. It's a little bit more flexible, but it has its issues too. There have been a few that we thought the numbers of businesses that are going to come out of it are going to be so broad, and they fit our mission, but they won't necessarily fit the criterion of a PRI, that we'll go ahead and make that grant from the LLC. Take the tax hit up front with the idea that it's going to give us a lot of freedom to make those investments going forward. So, I mean, I'd say that's one that we do spend a lot of time thinking about. So it's not as if having this LLC structure and also all working for the LLC and having all the expenses paid from the LLC has just completely freed us from this world. But it is worth thinking about. There's obviously the tax advantage, and just it's a little bit cheaper money if you can make the investment out of the foundation.
Right.
And of course, the nice thing for us is that it's all about the same mission. It's all the money is pooled, so we're pretty neutral as to which one we make it out of. It's about which one's more effective, and often that has to do with who our co-investors are going to be. If we're trying to attract other foundations, or we're working with foundations, it's great for us to make it as a PRI because we're clearing the forest for them to be able to do it. If we're really thinking that business is going to grow to the point that really we're hoping down the road, once it's established, we're taking the risky early stage. Down the road, we're hoping it's going to attract commercial capital. Might well make sense to do it from the LLC, or we can talk about one where we actually converted. We started out as a PRI. This is Bridge Schools International, which is a for-profit school system, and started out in the slums of Nairobi. And we were sort of the original investor. We were looking at it. We certainly could have done it either way, but we were sort of alone with it. And talk about an easy PRI. It's a school system in the slums of Nairobi, and it's education. So easily fits the PRI model. Well, they were so successful that within less than a year, their profits were strong enough and the market for growth was strong enough that they were raising a Series B, and there was a lot of commercial interest. And so we actually decided, rather than do what I think some foundations would think about, certainly very traditionally, which would be to either say, okay, wow, this is making money, we shouldn't be a part of this, let's exit, or wait, we're worried about mission drift, we're not going to allow them to raise commercial capital. We said, let's just convert it. Let's drop the PRI requirements and just put it in as part of our endowment.
And then you moved it over to the LLC.